Now, both sides you'll want to hear from the next person, because as we move towards the final stretch of the debate, Camilla is as yet undecided. So if we can get a microphone to the young lady with the black top. You're undecided and you have a question. Where are we going, Camilla?
So I'm a journalist on the Sunday Express, and a lot of our readers are concerned about security. And I think, not to scaremonger more, because we've probably had enough of that on both sides, we are facing the prospect, somewhat terrifyingly, of Donald Trump perhaps becoming the next American president, a man who doesn't seem to believe in NATO, who doesn't seem to believe in protecting people abroad. If America abandons us and we leave the EU, aren't we going to be left in a lot more of a precarious position, not least with the prospect of Putin still being in power?
Nigel Farage, how concerned should we be about being stranded then if we've not got the EU with us, running to nanny, some would say, and we've got Donald Trump in the White House?
Well, we could have Hillary in the White House. I don't know what the outcome of that is going to be. Look, I don't think...
Would it be Trump or Hillary? Who would you
I would never vote for Hillary. I think she's a crook. And
so you go for Trump?
And I think she'll get found out.
So you go for Trump?
I would certainly not vote for Hillary.
I think I'm going to just say that there's no evidence.
I worked for the company at the time of Watergate, and let me tell you, I saw...
Let's move on. The Express newspapers...
Does that mean you vote for Trump? You vote for Trump?
I might abstain, but I wouldn't vote for Hillary.
But it is worth saying... It is worth saying the two world figures that are pro-Brexit are Donald Trump and Putin. They're the two guys that are for it.
Putin hasn't said a single word on this.
Well, the guys that are for the European Union include Oswald Mosley, the president of China.
Back to Mr. Farage.
That ridiculous
This is important. This is important. Just for a point of clarification, Express newspapers do not necessarily support the comments. They're personally held by Nigel Farage as regards Hillary Clinton. We move on to Britain out of Europe and with Trump in the White House. Nigel Farage.
I think she's a crook. I didn't say she definitely was one.
You don't know how much I'm getting down my ear right now. I can hardly hear.
Okay, in terms of security, military security, the European Union wants its own army. All right, it's very simple. I confronted Nick Clegg with this back in 2014. He said I was a dangerous fantasist, and now we know, the day after our referendum, the plans for a European army are going to be unveiled. I am very worried about that. I'm very worried about what I see, an expansionist foreign policy that the European Union has. It's been very provocative in one or two parts of the world already, especially in the Ukraine, where it behaved...
Outrageous.
Where it behaved in the most...
You are rewriting history, Nigel.
Well, it happened 3 years ago. It really was
outrageous.
Quite disgraceful. And I fear with the European army that we would find ourselves dragged into new conflicts, which frankly were none of our interest. The better model than a European army is a military structure where nation states cooperate together rather than giving up their ability to make decisions. And I do think that NATO has served us very well. And I frankly think it impossible that President Trump would take America out of NATO. I cannot foresee any circumstances. I don't see any circumstances in which he would. I really don't.
Except his own views.
Well, his bark in a campaign, I don't think in office he'll be anything like as extreme as we fear.
Let's get Chukwuemeka. You're almost jumping out of your seat.
Well, increasingly, Nigel's sounding like a Trump sympathiser and now a Putin apologist. There is absolutely...
Were you happy with the Ukraine? Were you happy that we actually encouraged the overthrow of an elected leader in the Ukraine? There was a coup.
Look,
there was a coup. It was a disgrace.
What happened in Ukraine was President Putin walked in there and took part of that country. And that is completely inexcusable.
That was later.
And trying to blame that on the European Union...
You can't rewrite history, Chapter. Sorry, mate.
Well, I think you're rewriting history.
The Crimea happened afterwards.
You are an apologist for President Putin.
No, I'm not.
But in terms of security and defence, look, if there was
call his work in Syria brilliant, Nigel. You're not an apologist, you're a fan.
Well, do you know what? Do you know what?
You're a fan of, was it because he bombed civilians?
The fact that he stopped us going to war, which is what most of Parliament wanted to do in 2013, thank God we didn't go to war.
Well, and you know what I thought was...